The Being Counted a Boss podcast is powered by Expert. Expert is the AI data and workflow management kit for bookkeepers and accountants, keeping your data clean and boosting productivity. Automate manual bookkeeping checks and streamline your entire workflow. Expert is your trusted sidekick, tirelessly checking the data for errors and helping you manage workflow easily. Process, visibility, and data quality control in one AI-driven system. If you're interested in trying Expert for free, visit our website at www.expert.io, where you can start a 2-week free trial.
Hello and welcome to this bonus episode of the Being Counted a Boss podcast. We're joined today by Leigh Stallard. Hey Leigh, how are you?
I'm good, Will. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. And obviously it's myself and James. No Amy today, unfortunately.
Sad times.
Hopefully me and James will be able to hold down the fort. And,
I think we'll try our best.
Grill Leigh about his business and his industry experience and get a bit of insight into what we're going to talk about today. So we thought we'd get Leigh on just to talk about some using video content really within your practice. So how you can use that video content to help with client acquisition and onboarding. I think Leigh's experience and his time in the industry really lends itself nicely to that. And obviously the business that you set up, Leigh, and your background in sort of customer success and that side of things as well. Talking of background, do you want to just give an introduction to everyone that maybe doesn't know?
Yeah, cheers, Will. So I started out fresh face from school, landed in accounting practice as a junior. And I know Amy was talking on a previous episode about how she was doing the shredding. I got the binding, which was just sort of like putting the little spines on sets of accounts. That was one of my things. But worked there for a good few years, worked up, started running or managing the bookkeeping department and the payroll team. And in the end was lucky enough to do our internal accounts. So I was preparing the management accounts. That gave me a really good 360 perspective of how that practice worked. It's a small practice. It's not like a giant one, but it was enough for me to start to understand some of the key KPIs and concerns and worries that we would tend to have running the place. After that, I moved to Xero and joined as the first internal salesperson in the UK, and helped onboard accountants and get them to sign up and start adding their first few clients on Xero, because that was my experience back in practice. We started with Xero a year or so before and shared that experience there. Worked for a while at Xero and experienced one of the issues that most of the audience probably will recognize when they're dealing with software companies, that they tend to buy a little bit more than they can actually use. And so set my mind to figuring out how to solve that and started studying change management and things. And then more recently came out of software companies. I was a little bit burnt out. I wanted to do something a bit different and a bit fun, but still that was sort of strategically useful. So set up a video production company. Because I enjoy that, like fiddling with cameras and making things, but also in the context of figuring out onboarding for accountants and SaaS companies, digital video assets are a really important part of that. So it kind of fits the longer plan. But yeah, sort of a patchwork of different experiences, but I'm quite lucky to have had all those different perspectives.
Nice. You can tell by the quality of your video image that there's obviously a decent setup in front of you.
It creates an obligation, doesn't it? It sort of becomes a shop window, right?
Obligation, yeah, it definitely does. Cool, thanks for that, mate. And I actually didn't know that you started in practice. We've known each other for a little while, but I actually didn't know that you were in practice before you joined Xero. And to be the first internal salesperson in the UK for Xero is quite that's something to kind of hang your hat on and be quite proud of.
Yeah, it was.
Go on, Leigh.
Sorry,
Go on. Hang on.
It was great. It was a lot of fun, and it sounds very cliche when you go back and describe it, but all of the people that were there at that point, it didn't feel like a job. We knew we were part of something that was pretty important, and it did feel like a bit of a joint mission. So I've never experienced anything like it in work since then. Yeah. It was great.
Yeah, I think everyone I speak to that's kind of ex-Xero, especially those early days of Xero, it's the same sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
So what I was going to say was, obviously being in practice and then going into Xero, did you feel that going to Xero was because you felt there was a lack of support for practice owners when this sort of things were starting to shift slightly? Because it's kind of the time when you moved, things were starting to shift. We had Sage 50, very, very popular. And then obviously Xero coming in to change the landscape a lot. So did you feel that was a good opportunity to really help and support like small practice owners like ourselves?
Yeah, definitely. I saw the opportunity because I sat with clients and suddenly the penny dropped with us. We were trying to grow the practice, and it's always really, really difficult to do that as a small local firm because it's hard to differentiate unless you want to lean in heavily to branding and niching, which, you know, social media wasn't as big as it was back then. It was only 2012 that I moved. So there were limited ways to do that. And so Xero came in and just gave us this immediate differentiator. We can collaborate with you. We can just do all this new stuff that we couldn't do before. And then it was a tweet from Gary Turner that said, "Look, we're looking for people." And I just knew I wanted to get on that bus, right? Like, I was like, I need to be there. Yeah, exactly. Twitter, yeah, it was it. Back when it wasn't a cesspool, but yeah, it was crazy. And I said, "Look, I'll come in and clean the bathrooms if I have to. I just need to be in this business. I want to be involved in it." Fortunately, I got a better job than cleaning the bathrooms in the end. But yeah, it was just felt like a calling. I was like, this is going to change things. I need to be part of it.
Yeah, nice. That's I think that kind of ties quite nicely into a lot that we've been talking about, right? Is that's the reason that people go and set up on their own when coming out of maybe a bigger practice, is because they think, oh, I can do this differently, or I can maybe do this a bit better than the way that we're doing it in this bigger corporate business, which is quite a nice way of thinking about it. Because essentially, a small accounting practice is a startup, right?
Yeah, pretty much. It's a smaller team
industry, right? Yeah. Same sort of thing. So obviously, we want to tie that back into, and you touched on it in your introduction around sort of setting up this video production company. So what is it that you've been doing for sort of working with accountants? But I know you do a bit of work with some of the vendors as well. So what's the work that you're doing with accountants and bookkeepers mostly at the moment?
So we've gone into a few accountants and bookkeepers and done some day-long shoots where we're essentially helping them tell a story that will resonate with their target audience. And what's quite nice about going in and just spending a day is that we can come up with all sorts of ideas for these little video assets. And I'm really keen, like, social media video is important and it's useful, but I'm really keen that when we're making stuff that it becomes genuinely an asset and it has a job and it can then be measured and perform and actually do a thing and sit there as a digital asset and do it 24/7. And so we'll go in and we'll sometimes record things like about us videos where we talk about what they do and how they do it differently. We'll record other little assets, which we can come onto in a bit, that are for more of the life cycle with the client. So thanks for signing your proposal video, and here's what to do next with the onboarding and AML, and here's why we need to do it. And here's a reminder that's going to go out in November that you need to get your tax return information in. And if you don't do it by then we're going to charge you more. And all those sort of life cycle bits that just become really repetitive messages and probably don't land as well on a text email. Actually, a little video message from someone senior in the practice, someone they've got a relationship with, can land a little bit more strongly and sort of drive a little bit of behavior, which is about what a lot of this stuff is. Like the strapline for Nomad is moving pictures, moving people. Like if we don't get someone to do something different as a result of seeing a video, then they may well have watched a cat video, you know?
Yeah, nice. I think everyone has gone. The way that people consume information has changed, right, over the last 10, 15 years. And I think it was that sort of short form text or long form text. But I think most people now are so accustomed to watching videos, like you'll scroll through reels on Instagram or TikTok or whatever it might be, that actually communicating by video is a really effective way of getting buy-in from your customers. And obviously we see that here on the vendor side of the world. But I think that's the same. It's going to be the same with accountants. And do you think accountants maybe struggle to communicate their value? Do you think they find it easier to do that via video than they would do via like a proposal message or a text or anything like that?
I think sometimes it requires a little bit of coaching and coaxing to get that out, because what highly skilled people tend to do, like you'll have heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? So when people are highly skilled, they tend to then start undervaluing their skills and assume that everybody kind of knows it. And so with a little bit of some sort of relevant questions at the right time, you can start to help people draw out those differentiators, and then you've got something that's a bit more compelling. But yeah, definitely. But people struggle to do that and struggle to know what to say and how to say it and how to present themselves, and certainly in a confident way. It can be a challenge for folks in practice.
there's some key tips there. Obviously, it's quite interesting. So if we spin this and sort of say, if someone was looking now to go and start their own practice, whether it's accountancy or bookkeeping, what tips would you be telling them to be like getting their message out?
If they're still in a practice, still employed.
Well, employed looking to go on their own, they obviously want to navigate the scene of now our spaces, or like say the social media. And like Will said, how do they get their value? Tips would you use to sort of help to sort of say as a good starting point?
I would really focus in on a particular demographic or a niche or an ICP, as we call it in sort of sales and marketing land, so an ideal customer profile. So you're really looking at creating a character, I suppose, for the sort of person that you can serve really, really well and would get maximum value from what you do. And then you can start creating content that speaks to that person and what they worry about each day. And it doesn't necessarily need to be talking about the solution. You can start out very quickly by just empathizing with the pain points that they've got. So you might say, I don't know. I mean, MTD is a huge topic, right? So you might take the view that actually small clients that have been underserved by their accounting practice, they're concerned about MTD but don't know what it is. That's what we're going to go after. That might be your target. And you say, right, like we're going to start to do some content to first validate what they feel and say, yeah, look, it's confusing. We know that there's not enough information, and then start to slowly drop out some educational content as well. And so I'd start building out a social content calendar, aiming at those themes, and start to build a bit of an audience, which then at the point that you want to make the jump, you've already got an audience that you can go and speak to.
I think that's the really important bit, is around that education piece. Like, you're not constantly trying to sell your services to someone, because it's very difficult to influence someone to buy from you. But what it can do, if you're in their head and they know when it comes to the point that they need to go and find an accountant to do their tax return, and you've been in their mind, you've been on their Facebook feed for the last 6 months, chances are they're probably going to come to you because they know about you, right? But you don't have to sell to that person to get that. It's a case of kind of building that reputation and education piece. I think a lot of people are maybe too scared to share too much, but I don't think you can ever really share too much because they're not going to go away and do that themselves.
So there's a balance there, right? So if you're selling coaching services, you can kind of say what you want, right? If you're selling accounting services, you've got to be really careful with the advice that you give. And you can't tell people, well, just draw this salary and this amount of dividends, because you don't know their circumstances. So there's a little bit of... Yeah. And there are people that do that. And that's the challenge. And aside from actually shooting and editing videos, I actually coach a couple of accountants on their own stuff. So they go away and make it themselves. And the feedback I'm hearing from them is they're hearing from clients saying, well, this client's now seen something that this other creator's made, and then they're coming back and saying, well, why can't I do that? And then he's on the back foot because he's got to say, well, that's not quite true what they've said, and your circumstances are different. But it's interesting that he's then getting that feedback and he's having to sort of fight those fires almost.
Yeah, no, it's interesting now because we get that quite a lot. Although we have a presence on social media, we obviously get a couple of clients coming through and saying, oh, I've seen this by so-and-so, and I'm going to, can I do it? And you have to say, well, hang on a minute. They've kind of just got you. They're trying to grab your attention with this, and the reason, and so technically that is kind of right, but in reality, it's not. It's not wrong. It's just like you say, the circumstances for you are very different, but also the implication is there's bigger implications. There could be a benefit in kind behind it, which they fail to sort of tell, but because they're trying to grab the attention initially, which is okay, they've got the attention, but then the details got to follow after. So we get that ourselves, and that's something I feel, if someone's going to go out and do it, they've got to make sure that they're really careful.
And it's a disservice to everybody, right? Because the client loses out because they'll maybe follow that strategy and then realize they can't get a mortgage that they wanted to get in a year because they've missed that detail off. You potentially risk losing a client through no fault of your own. And then that other accountant, they probably lose that client very quickly when everything unravels. So yeah, agree. Like, you've got to be really careful with what you're saying and be accurate.
Yeah. Nice. And so we've spoken about a little bit about the onboarding process, so like including videos in your proposals and things like that to kind of communicate once people have signed on with you. And we've spoken a little bit about sort of video content to generate that interest in your practice. But talking from your sort of customer success background, I think a lot of accountants could learn a lot from probably what some of the good vendors do in this space around customer success, because it's the same thing, right? It's a service-based business that accountants are running. So there is that element of customer success. So how do you see accountants using video content to really help with their existing client base and educate them and maybe grow that client base or upsell them?
The challenge that a lot of accountants are trying to get away from is just getting stuck into that once a year engagement. And some people do a really good job and some struggle. Often the challenge mirrors what I experienced when I was a salesperson in a SaaS company, is having something to go and speak about. It's challenging to pick the phone up and go, oh, can we have a catch up? And it's like, no, I'm busy. What do you want? So if you can find things to be sharing, then that becomes a good stepping point to then have a broader conversation with them.
I'm guessing you can also pinpoint and sort of say with that they're looking at clients and sort of saying you'd have to be too complicated with the information and be like, okay, so you done this for this period and this is what it was last period. This is what's gone up. This is what's gone down. Or you can hone in on director's own account, the drawings. Why, this is how much you've taken. And this is the implication, because obviously the profits of the business are not going to continue to support it. It's just key information like that, I suppose, with video content can really hone in on that message.
Yeah, absolutely. So really basic application, or I say basic, like it's a really good use case, but a quick way you could do something with that is just go into their Xero or QuickBooks or Free Agent or Sage, whatever platform they use, create a quick Loom video and say, look, I'm just having a quick look around in your Xero. I noticed this, I noticed that. Like, let's have a chat. Because that's ultimately what you want. You want a conversation, but if you can build a mechanism to generate conversation at scale, what video is a really, really good way to do that, rather than go in, do the prep, get your notes, ring them, they're not there, then okay, I'll leave a message and then come back, and it's just a challenge. So if you can use that to generate an appointment or a conversation or something in the diary, that becomes much more efficient.
That's a good point, actually, and I think it's a very valuable nugget of information there.
Yeah, I think it's a good tool to upsell as well, right? So if you've got those once a year clients that you want to bring on into your full service, full bookkeeping service clients, give them a review of their Xero. Tell them where the errors are, where they're missing things or what they're doing wrong, and say, well, hey, how about we do that for you?
You could even use a certain other software tool that could show the health check report as well, couldn't we?
You might be able to use Expert for that. It might be used. I'm not going to sit here and sell Expert on this podcast.
The other one that could be quite useful, just to throw a little nugget in there, is some firms have some really good success with building a YouTube channel, specifically around a niche. So let's say if you were going to focus on an e-commerce audience, building out a YouTube channel full of tutorials around Unleashed and like very specific product tutorials, how to connect Unleashed to Shopify, like searchable terms that people are going to be looking for, is a great way to just start to bring in a trickle of leads to you. So I think like YouTube's the second biggest search engine in the world, right after YouTube. After Google. So that can be a good use of it. But then another one for those constant engagements with clients is if you know they're using a certain software product and you know it's been updated. So Xero, for example, they've just updated their UI. If you create a quick tour of that and go, hey, look, just to let you know, I know we put you on Xero, and obviously as accountants, you'll tend to feel a little bit of a responsibility because you recommended it. But then if you can say, look, here's a quick Loom video, here's what's changed, Xero have updated us, it shows that you're very connected to them as a partner and very close to them, but it also shows that you're being proactive. And the benefit of those sorts of things is even if nobody watches it, they see that you've sent it to them. They see that you're taking care and taking time, and now it's gone. But you record it once, then can send it to multiple clients. So that's a useful tactic as well.
It is actually
definitely what clients. That's what clients coming through now with accounting practices want. They want that interaction. They want that higher touch service. They don't want their accountant to speak to them once a year, even if it is through video content. Like, engage with them. Touch points are really, really important in a service-based industry.
I suppose that can also rule out the over servicing, because obviously you've got that literal short clip that just highlights a few things. I guess that's, like you referred to as a touch point. It can then obviously eliminate the over servicing, which you can I feel like we're doing as a practice at the moment, where we're trying to deliver that customer service. At times, myself and the team are over servicing, so we could actually bring that back in by saying, look, we stick to this number one rule, which is send some short content out, and then that's enough.
Yeah. I think as well, if you've got that library of kind of help videos, you can use that as a generic tool, right? I imagine, James, you get the same inquiry from clients all the time, like, how do I do this in Zero? Or how do I do this? Well, here you go. Go to this video that I've recorded and put on YouTube. Go and watch that, and it'll answer that question for you, right?
Yeah.
Rather than you have to type it out.
What if I do it this way? No, but you say, sure. This is how you do it. Yeah, it's true. It can save so much time, but also I guess it also shows that you're willing to, you've enhanced that relationship because you maybe thought about it beforehand.
Yeah,
and it shows that level of understanding, right? That you sort of preempt with the questions that the client's going to ask. It's a great way to demonstrate that level of understanding.
And we're coming up to time, and I want to give you a bit of time to shout out Nomad Video, Leigh. So if people wanted to start making video content, get in touch with you to get a coaching session in or whatever that might be, how can they reach out to you, mate?
Best way to find me is on LinkedIn. I'm pretty present and active on there. Fighting the algorithm every day and trying to get pushed through, but hopefully you'll find some useful stuff on my page.
Loads of video content, I hope, right?
It is, and there's some interesting stats from LinkedIn. They're actually really trying to push video content. I keep getting retargeted with ads pushing how they're trying to promote it, which I'm not necessarily feeling all the time, but it does get higher engagement, even if less impressions. But that aside, LinkedIn's the best place to reach me, and more than happy to help anyone.
We'll put the link to your LinkedIn profile underneath this video, so people can podcast, so people can reach out to you. And what would be kind of like the first step that you'd recommend people doing? Obviously, if they are thinking about, are there any tools that they might use? You mentioned Loom, obviously, earlier on, but is there anything else that might be good for them to kind of jump onto and start dipping their toe in the video content waters? The
biggest barrier is getting over the internal sort of mental hurdles of what if I say something wrong, and what if people laugh at me? And
I'm going to confess, I do not listen or watch this podcast because I don't want to see myself.
Don't hear your own voice, right? So before going out and buying any gear or subscribing to anything, just record yourself speaking to your phone, but don't post it anywhere. Just talk. In the comfort that it doesn't have to go anywhere. No, it never needs to see the light of day. And if you do that 10 times and you get one good one, you might go, actually, I'll post that. But I'd just get into the habit of organizing your thoughts, thinking about who you want to speak to, what they need to hear, and just get into the habit of it. And then as and when you do want to step it up a little bit, very first thing to get is a microphone, because people will tolerate bad video quality for much longer than they'll tolerate poor audio quality. If it sounds bad, they'll click off very quickly. And you don't need to spend 20, 30 quid on a little wired mic is all you need to get started.
Nice. That's great advice, isn't it, James?
Very true. Because bear in mind, we just tried to record something at Accountex, and I'm trying to look at it, and I'm like, oh my God, I did not do that right. The mics didn't work very well. I didn't set the mics up properly. So, no, totally. That's great advice.
Yeah. Cool. So we like to end these guest episodes with a bit of this or that questions, just a quick fire round. Just to get to know you as a person a little bit more, Leigh. So I'm just going to fire probably 20 questions at you. Answer as quickly as you can, so we can get to know you a bit better. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
Winter or summer?
Summer, all day long.
Introvert or extrovert?
Introvert.
Introvert. That's interesting. Remote work or office work?
Remote.
Burger or pizza?
Pizza. Or burger flavored pizza. You can get them. They're really
cheeseburger
pizzas.
Best of both.
Script first or shoot first?
Shoot first.
Natural light or artificial light?
Well, so I use artificial light because I can control it more. But for anyone that's starting, just go outside, use natural light.
Yeah, nice. Shooting or editing?
Editing.
Organized desk or creative mess?
Creative mess.
Nice. That'll do. Unless you've got any that come to mind, James. You got anything?
No.
Perfect. Thanks, mate. Appreciate your time. And if anybody does want to reach out to Leigh and get started on that video creation journey, then we'll put your LinkedIn underneath this podcast. But really appreciate your time. It's been super valuable. I said this on the last guest one. We definitely need to make these a little bit longer, I think, James.
Yeah, definitely. And there's so much more we can make out. There's so much more we can get out of them, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. But I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Great. Cheers, guys. Catch you
Thanks.
soon.
Thanks so much for listening to the Bean Counter to Boss podcast. I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you could leave us a review, like, subscribe, that would be incredible, as it really does help to get the word out there for our little podcast. Hopefully see you again in a couple of weeks' time for the next episode.